All right, everyone, welcome. Today is going to be behind the scenes. What is Arista AVD? And I'm making a video on what is Arista AVD. This will be like a 5-minute quick demo video, but I need slides and I need a repo specifically for this. All right, everyone, welcome. Today, all right, good. So my audio works. So I need a couple of things. I need some slides or some content. So I'm going to do save as. And I'll save that there. So I'm just using a template I made. So I'm writing a course called Troubleshooting EVPN Networks. That'll be a different class. I'll probably put that on Udemy. But for now, we're going to do what is Arista AVD. And this template I'm using is an experiment I'm doing with darker backgrounds and white text versus dark text and white backgrounds. The old way, probably, or maybe even the best way still, but the traditional way was to do black text on white backgrounds, because that was the best way to do with old projectors. If you went to an office and you were doing a presentation, you plugged into some old projector that says bulb failing or change bulb. They had bad contrast, and you're in dark rooms or not so dark rooms, etc. So you needed something that provided the best contrast. But today we're almost all the time we're watching this content. We're consuming this content on like phone screens, TV screens, laptop screens. So I'm figuring it's better to do the darker background and the lighter text, but we'll see. The other thing I need is an environment for all this. So I spun up a new version of the Autobox. So the Autobox, should probably do a diagram for this. Just get rid of all this. So I call this thing the Autobox, and it's a set of instructions that I have to build a virtual machine that you can practice with automation on. It's an all-in-one box. It has an IDE, it has Container Lab, and then you just download a containerized image from Arista, or you can do another containerized image. But Arista right now has the best virtual platforms for learning their platform. So they're small, they're full featured, they're lightweight, they're really, really lightweight. You can do them on one CPU and a gig of RAM, basically. But anyway, so this is called the Project Nerd Autobox. So it's Linux. I either use Alma Linux or Ubuntu. So Alma Linux 10 or Ubuntu 2404. And then on top of that, we got things like Container Lab, got Python. I think it's 3.12 on both. Container Lab, it's lowercase. What else do we have on there? Got Code Server. It's kind of a got Ansible. Got Code Server. Spread all these out. we go. Nice snap too. So there's probably some other stuff on here, but this is the basis. And then we can run containerized EOS. And then we do a leaf spine topology. All right, I want to group this. Oh, I do want to get rid of this. Oops. The reason why I group things is that you can shrink them and they'll keep their perspective. I'll just shrink the text a little bit. Need a different color here. So I might do I guess I could do that. Then the outline. Problem is contrast. Make sure we have enough contrast. So that runs on top of there. We just want to give a graphical, visual representation of what we're doing here. I also need to add a couple of hosts. Oh, yeah, I need to flatten this a little bit too. It should be flatter. That's better. And a couple of hosts. Be that. This will be host 1. And that, of course, needs to be yellow. Still leaning towards doing the dark backgrounds, but it is a challenge. So no fill, and then there we go. It is quite the challenge, just from a graphics perspective. I know everyone kind of like craps all over PowerPoint, and PowerPoint can be done very badly, but it is a very useful tool because for the people that are visual learners, we need some way to visualize what we're doing. So whenever I'm teaching a class or writing a class, I make sure that I include as many graphics as I can. And then I also do a lot of whiteboarding, but my rule is if I do too much, if I do the same whiteboard over and over again, it needs to be a slide. I used to work with a company where the person in charge just had this weird idea out of nowhere that we're not doing slides anymore. So no more slides. We wouldn't give the student slides. We wouldn't do slides in the presentations. And I thought that was really, really dumb because, yes, there are definitely classes and instructors that read from slides, and that's no fun. No one wants to do that. But a nice, legible diagram in PowerPoint or whatever it is can be very, very useful when we're talking about this kind of thing, when we're when we're trying to explain a subject, that I have pre-made graphics that aren't disasters of penmanship. So I don't know why they didn't do any slides. They also kept reusing slides like over and over again. They would we would do these customized courses, and they would just take the same slide decks that I've been using for years that needed to be updated, and they would just shuffle them in and make a deck. And the instructors, we would never use the deck because the slides were terrible. So trying not to do that. I'm trying to do custom slides every time I make a class. I might reuse some diagrams. I might use some slides here and there, but I try to make everything new because I think if especially if people are paying for it, people are paying a lot of money for it, that they should have slides that are close to the courseware. That doesn't mean that the instructor should be beholden to the slides, in my opinion. But they should have a good foundation, a good basis, so that they can work off of those slides and then do custom whiteboards if they need to. But PowerPoint is a tool, and it can be used incorrectly, but it can also be used very, very correctly. All right, so I need to put some sort of border around all of this to signify that this is the auto box. I'm going to send it back. I'm going to do a different fill, probably a gray fill. This background, I think, is too thick. Developing a design language too is important, and it's kind of tough sometimes. That looks a bit better. You know what? I'm going to shrink all this. Bloop. I want to put this off to the side. You don't have to be an artistic master to do this kind of stuff, but it does help to be have a consistent design language. Try to be as consistent as you can. At the end of the day, we're not doing brain surgery or anything, but we should be a little consistent. Okay, so format shape, text options. I want this at the bottom. So the whole Project Nerd thing it's just a set of instructions for network engineers who are doing automation. So the problem that I'm solving there was that there were just not enough resources, places that a network person could go to, let's say I wanted to build a device that could do network automation, build a system that had Ansible, all this stuff on there. And that's going to be a big part of this, what is AVD, is so that people can play with AVD when all is said and done. And so I need a visual representation of what the Autobox is and what it gets you, because that'll be the basis for the demos. So that way they can do the demos at home. So the Autobox has also this R1 router off to the side, connected to both leaf 3 and 4. we go. So code server, yeah, so that's what that is. All right, so what does AVD do? So what does AVD do? Or what is AVD? What is AVD? Is an open source project by Arista to build configurations for various build configurations, document configurations, deploy configurations, and test configurations. So that's the 4 things that AVD does. AVD information. AVD is network automation. Network automation project by Arista to Arista Networks. Let me check something here. Okay. Is an open source network automation project by Arista Networks, which to do the following. AVD is network as code. Network as code. So the basics of AVD is that we've got devices. So network switches. We got switches. Each of these switches has configs. So we'll do the configs are, go to the top, and from a text perspective, I want GitLab mono. These are all running config, so I need to make these small enough. Fit on the line. And then this part here, just need some basic representations of what text would look like. Running config. So we have some switches, and then they all have configs. So I want to do some animations here just to punch things up a bit. And the animations will be fade in. And then this will also be fade in, the second one. So it looks like this. Then we got switches, devices. They all have running configs. So how does the running configs get on there? Well, it was network as code. There's actually an AVD, new AVD logo. So we'll use that. This thing right here. Ooh, that doesn't match very well. What could I do to make this more matchy-matchy? I could invert it. Make it white and dark. I have to load that into PowerPoint. I'll leave it like this for now. A little pro tip: if you hold down the Shift key when you resize it, it'll keep the dimensions, or the relative dimensions, so you don't get it something like this, which will look really weird. So hold down the Shift key when you resize it; it'll keep the proportions. All right, so we got AVD. Actually, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab some more coffee. So what does AVD do? AVD takes these things called data models. In the form of YAML files. And then builds configs for each device. To do that a little thicker, yeah, there we go. Attach that. Actually, I don't want them there. I'm going to do a swap-a-rooney. There, then I can do that. I think that's a better representation of what's happening. And then we'll do fill wise, let's do green. The outline will be white. So we build configs. Because the background is lighter, I'll do darker. Deploy configs. And then test configs. That's one of the most important distinctions here is we build configs, deploy configs, and test configs. Now, do I do the document configurations? I've not found it all that super useful because the documentation is mostly in the YAML anyway. But it also, AVD will make, AVD makes markdown files of the fabric. It gives you some basic information. So let's define a couple of terms. Actually, I don't want to do that. Let's do a new slide. Network as code. Generating configurations versus typing them out. Do you have a Alma Linux for EVE-NG? I don't. Are you talking about running EVE-NG on top of Alma Linux? Because it's its own distro, which is Debian-based or Ubuntu-based. And then there's a Ubuntu image to run in EVE-NG as a server. But like a Linux server, but I don't have one. Maybe I should make one. I don't like the Ubuntu one. So this is my EVE-NG system. I think I logged in. Need to log in as HTML5. There we go. Ooh, I/O error. Oh, FD0. What the heck is FD0? That's floppy drive. Why is there an... that's weird. Root, and then it's, I think, test 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we could do, so if, by the way, if you're doing, if you're doing EVNG and you're using Ubuntu, one thing I recommend doing is apt install LDPD. And then you can actually run LDPD. And the routers that you, or switches that you connected to, can actually see it via LLDP, which is really handy. And then there's also apt install iperf. So iperf's good thing to have. But yeah, no, I don't have a Linux image for Alma. There should be one. Maybe I'll get around to making one, but I don't have one right now. So a couple network automation terms before we get started. Networking is code, generating configurations versus typing them out manually. Data models, an abstracted representation of desired configuration state. DSL, domain specific language. A way to represent desired configuration state. That's not really a good definition for DSL. I'm not even going to, yeah, I think it confuses the issue too much. Wilson says, missed some of your videos. Are you now using EVNG? Yes and no. If I prefer to use in Container Lab because it's lighter weight and it works really well. But if I'm doing stuff outside of Arista, EVNG is sometimes better because Cisco has nothing in the container realm that works well. So that it's all virtual images of iOS XR, iOS XE, NXOS. So they're all virtual images. There's no containerized versions of any of them that I'm aware of. Juniper, they have CRPD, which is you need a license for. Juniper is the most confusing of the virtual platforms because they have so many. And then some of them are deprecated. Some of them require a license just to get running. And they don't have a good containerized story either. And their vSwitch, their Junos vSwitch is terrible because it uses up so much resource. Like it just burns up the CPU. It uses like 6 to 8 gigs of RAM per image. And it's always like the CPU utilization on it is nuts. I talked to someone at Juniper and they recommended using Junos Evolved. So if you're not familiar with Junos Evolved, Juniper has two NOSes, network operating systems. They've got Junos and they've got Junos Evolved. Junos is FreeBSD based. So back in the 90s, that's what they used as the basis for their network operating system, which was smart back then. Because back then, iOS was a monolithic, weird kernel thing that wasn't based off of anything except what Cisco did back in the like late 80s, early 90s. That was really difficult to work with. There was no like processes. There was no modularity to it. It was just this big monolithic binary blob that you ran on like a 2911. And Juniper had this it was a modular, it ran on top of FreeBSD and it had processes for OSPF, a different process for BGP. It was a way better way to do things. And Cisco eventually moved to that. They have NXOS, they have iOS XR, iOS XE, all Linux based. Juniper ran into a problem though, in that FreeBSD really lagged behind in a lot of things, specifically virtualization. So now Junos boots into Linux, which runs a hypervisor, which boots into to FreeBSD Junos, and they needed that to run like HA in some of their chassis switches. I might be getting some of the details wrong, but they had to put a shim layer of Linux under FreeBSD because FreeBSD is like, as a strict server operating system, it's fine. And some people have gotten some pretty interesting things done with it, like Netflix has a build of FreeBSD that serves up their content delivery network really, really fast. Basically, like raw DMA calls, basically pulling images from the disk and then throwing them out on the network at very, very high speed. And they've done all sorts of tricks to make this happen at very, very fast rates. But for things like virtualization, they have nothing. Well, they have a little bit, but they're way behind on virtualization. They're way behind on some of the networking stuff. And so Juniper was running into those limitations. So what I was recommended, if you're going to run EVE-NG, if you're going to run a virtual Junos image to play around with Juniper, run Evolve, which I think I just downloaded it. So run the Linux one. It doesn't require, Junos Evolved. Yeah. So I was building a Frankenfabric of like NXOS, VEOS, Junos, maybe SR Linux from Nokia, to try to build like a Frankenfabric to show off some interoperability stuff. But that's another project. But most of the time I use, if I'm just doing Arista, I'm using CEOS. There's only one thing I can't do in CEOS that I need to do, and that's multicast. There's some problems with running multicast in EVP and VXLAN in CEOS, but it works in VEOS. But other than that, CEOS is fantastic. Like, I really give kudos to Arista. They have the best virtualization story for labbing, bar none. Because their virtual images are small, they're efficient, and they are full featured. There's like a couple of things you can't do in them, like QoS. You can't. There's no hardware queues. But I think all the platforms have that problem, and it's really hard. You can like mimic the queues, but you can't mimic its behavior. Like, I could make a data structure that puts packets into it, and then we'll service the packets on a weighted round robin basis. But then it gets into the virtualization layer, and then how does that actually get? Yeah. So anyway, so a couple of things don't work on it, but they don't work in any other platform either. But for the most part, like, you can do ACLs, you can do EVP and VXLAN, you can forward packets back and forth. I think they're rate limited, but that's okay. We're just doing labs. It's fine. So they have the best one going. And this is how good they are. I can fit this topology right here. So 4 leaves, 2 spines, 2 hosts, which are just CEOS images, and a router, also a CEOS image. All of these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 virtual images running simultaneously, containerized images running simultaneously on a device that only needs to run well is 16 gigabytes of RAM and 4 virtual CPUs. So you can do that all on that, which I think is phenomenal. So most people can find a system that they can run a VM that has 16 gigs of RAM and 4 GPUs, and then run the instructions to build the Autobox, and then you've got your own leaf spine topology. I also created a VM that had, actually I'll put this over here. I also created a large VM, a large topology, and it's on GitHub now, of 60 nodes. So 50 leafs, 3 spines, some border leafs, some external routers, external firewall, not really firewalls, and 80 gigs of RAM and 16 vCPUs. And so 60 nodes, you can build a fabric with 60 nodes. Most enterprises don't have 50, 60 virtual switches or physical switches. So You can't do that with any of the other vendors right now. Not even close. Anyway, okay. So back to terms. So, one of the challenges when you're writing a course, and this is going to be like a 5-minute course, maybe as a preface for an actual like several hour long course on using Arista AVD, is what terms do I need to explain? I mean, network automation is a very big, broad subject. I don't want to go through everything. I just want to give them the information that they need, making some assumptions about what they do know and what they don't know. So network automation, network as code. Data models, an abstracted representation of desired configuration state. Technologies used. Oh yeah, I'll do IDE. Integrated development environment. An editor that also incorporates linting, a file editor, command shells, Git integration, and more. So for example, the technologies that we're going to use, one of them is going to be Container Lab, an open source lab. How would you describe Container Lab? How does Container Lab describe Container Lab? I love Container Lab. It is just absolutely fantastic. I'll just start with this. Open source tool set for orchestrating and managing container-based networking labs. Data models, technologies used. Docker, a container runtime. So Wilson says, I was checking EVNG webpage and saw a VEOS switch and VEOS router. What's the difference? That's a good question. Over time, Arista has changed their virtualized offerings. There's now, I think it's like Cloud Router, and then there's VEOS Lab and CEOS Lab. So really, it's what you're going to use is VEOS Lab. That's the lab incarnation of it. But if you have the licenses and pay money, you can use the vCloud router, which has more functionality, more throughput. Not that you would use that in a lab environment, but it can do things you can't do in with VEOS Lab. Like Arista used to have SDN. They just bought an SDN company. Can't remember their name. They bought them off of Broadcom. But they used to have one called Pathfinder, and Pathfinder ran on the cloud router. So like if we go to Arista. Let's go over here. Go to arista.com, go to software download. I need to log in. See, I don't have any special accounts. I don't work with Arista anymore, so my account only has the stuff that anyone has available to them, and that's VEOS Lab and CEOS Lab. That's where you download these images. So this is what you would download in order to run in Eve. And really, the only thing you get with a VEOS that you don't get with CEOS is some of the multicast stuff doesn't work in CEOS. Otherwise, I would just run Container Lab because you can run more interesting things because you can do more you can have more nodes. These just take up more RAM. I don't know actually how much RAM they take up. Look, if I start this up. Oh yeah, it'll actually tell you. So we can do a node. I'll do Arista. Yeah, so I would just use VEOS switch. So a VEOS router is probably the cloud router. Yeah, 4 gigs of RAM. Whereas the container just uses a gig. So you can fit 4 times as many containers into a given system as you could. No, yeah, you can do MPLS with VEOS. You can do MPLS with CEOS. In fact, one of my projects that I'm going to work on is building a CEOS-based MPLS lab. So you could do like segment routing, traditional MPLS. So yeah, you can do it in both. You can do CEOS. I know MPLS works with CEOS. I built networks with it. Yeah, somewhere I had actually had a see if I can find my topology that I was trying to build. Where did it go? Yeah, I can't find it. But I was building out an environment to do. You can actually use AVD to do it too. You can use AVD to build configurations for MPLS, including segment routing. But yeah, if you want to do interoperability, you would do VEOS just because the other vendors don't really have a good containerized solution. Container Lab can take a virtual machine, put it into a container, and basically the container runs KVM. It's kind of a weird thing, but it does work. I've actually built Container Lab solutions using virtual images. It's a little wonky, and sometimes it doesn't work very well, but I've gotten it to work. If you do anything with Juniper, unless you use Evolved, you have to do nested virtualization, which is it's a pain in the ass. Okay. Let's see. What do we? So Docker, container runtime. We need code server, which is Microsoft's VS Code running as a web app. I love this solution. I love code server. It's a company. They took Microsoft's VS Code, which is open source, and they turned it into a web app, and it is fantastic. I heard him earlier. Were you the one I was talking to on Discord? The name is similar to the one I saw on Discord, I think. Some Shadeland on Discord. Yeah, so I love code server. It's one of my favorite things. This right here, yeah, this right here, this is code server. So this system, this is, make this bigger. This is my Alma Linux VM. It's the VM that I'm running Container Lab on. I'm running CEOS containers on, Docker, Ansible, AVD. All of that's running on this system right here. And it's all in one. So when I edit files, let's go ahead and get into some files because I think people are probably tired of PowerPoint. So what I need to do is I need to create a GitHub repo that people can use to play with it. Oh, hey, yeah, hey, Merle. Actually, Merle, you're one of the reasons I'm doing this video is because I noticed you were using some of my old repos, and they were not as well suited for something like this. So I'm making a new repo just for people to play around with AVD. So, like all good engineers, I'm going to start with something I've already got. And I think it was my YouTube class. So I'm going to clone this repo and then modify it. So git clone. So this right here, and I'm going to take this. I'm going to make AVD demo 2025. And it's AVD version 5. So I don't want to, because some of the demos that people have been using were based off of AVD 3 or AVD 4, and they're on 5 now. In fact, Arista's courseware is all AVD 4, so it's pretty old. Let me just check something here. All right, so I'm going to make, and what I'll do is I'm going to make a git init. Git branch m, call it main. Git is, it's, if you're not familiar with Git, if you haven't used Git, it's a critical skill in network automation. I would say in network automation, you don't need to know Python. You need to know some certain Python data structures like a dictionary and a list, but you don't need to know how to program Python to do network automation, but you do need to know Git, and you do need to know YAML. I think Python is more important than YAML. I'm sorry, I think YAML is more important than Python in network automation, because I don't use Python all that often. Okay, so copy -rp demo 3. Copy it here. And then I can just get rid of that just to clean things up. And I can delete that directory. I don't need these anymore because I have, yeah, so I just need the inventory file. Oh, you know what I need? Yeah, so also what I need is, so I'm going to do AVD. So put group files in there, playbooks in there, put all those files in there. And then I'm going to make a directory called container CLab topology. So I'm going to have 2 directories in here. So one is where you can start up your container lab. So I'm going to clone my topologies here. So this is going to be a subset. Do I really want to do that though? So I've already got these CLab topologies. And if I make another one, then there's two places I have to update stuff. But this stuff probably won't be updated all that often, so I think I'll go ahead and do it. So we'll git clone. Then I'll just do copy-rp to demo into CLab. Then I can get rid of this directory. So this is what's important right here. I'm gonna need some FileZilla. I like FileZilla. I hate where it's hosted though. It's hosted on SourceForge. The SourceForge is very, very annoying. So I just need containerized CEOS lab. We'll just use the latest one. So do sudo docker image list. Shouldn't be anything on here. Nope. So I need to do sudo docker CEOS. Image load or import. I think import. Don't want to do it. And then I need to give it a name. So CEOS 42341F EFT3. If you don't put a label on it, it gets really annoying. This takes a minute. I find this part easier than doing the slides, because the slides sometimes there's so many ways you can teach the same thing, and sometimes you're paralyzed by choice. All right, so it's image. So do sudo docker image list. So that's that there. So I just have to change this to 341F EFT3. Actually, I have to change all occurrences of it. So change all occurrences. Again, this is one of the really nice things about Code Server is you have this ability to edit files. All right, so and then let's go ahead and deploy this. Actually, no, I don't want to deploy this. Yeah, I guess I do. Well, actually, first what I want to do is change up some of this stuff. All right, that looks good. Clean up some of this stuff. Get rid of that. So this should hash out to admin. I want this to be I want this to be ready to go as soon as the students students run this. Okay, this looks good. This is do an MLAG. Do I want to do MLAG? Do I want to do EVPN all active? I think MLAG is more common. Yeah, let's do MLAG. To build fabric, deploy fabric, test fabric. So all that looks good. In inventory, make sure I've got everything in inventory. All right, all that looks good. So this, I think I can make my first commit. And then on GitHub, I'm going to make myself a new repo. And call it this. Make it public. Create repo. And then I take this, copy this, and what I'll do is I'll do git remote add origin. You can call it whatever you want. Origin's the name that people use most often, and then I paste the URL. So now if I do a get push origin main, so the name of the remote repository is called origin, and I'm pushing the main branch. Now it wants to authenticate. So I like this setup here. I just paste into there. Use my password. And now it's pushed. So now if we go here, instead of having the boilerplate, we've actually got this stuff here. So I'm going to paste this into the chat room so you can take a look at it now if you like. So it has AVD. So this is, I think I'm going to create a branch. I'm going to call this, I need to create a file. I need to create a branch. I'll call this clean. So if I do a get pull origin main, now it's origin branch clean. So now I've got I can get change clean or get switch clean. Now I'm on the clean branch. So the clean branch is a way that I'm making it so that these are the file, like when I run AVD, it's going to generate a bunch of files. When I start Container Lab, it's going to create a bunch of containerized directories. And I don't want to put that into the, into the GitHub repo because there's no reason to, and it takes up a lot of space. And then actually I'm going to do get switch main. And then how do I create a new branch here? I'll create one called working. I think that actually might be better. I'll keep main. I'll keep main as the pristine directory. So now I'm in working. So now with working, I can do things like CLab topology. Do sudo container lab deploy. Oh, container lab's not installed. Thought I installed it. Luckily, installation's pretty easy. Just run this command here. And I need to run this command. All right, so container lab deploy. There we go. While this runs, I'm going to be right back. All right, I'm back. So we should have there we go. All right, so we've got a full topology built here. The important thing is make sure that I did, yes, put, when you build the topology, you put the management interfaces in a management VRF, because that is definitely what you want. All right. Then topology here. All right, let's see if this works. Oh, I need to install Small Galaxy. Install Arista AVD. What? Since when? Huh. That was weird. Did I misspell it? Arista.avd. No, I spelled it correctly. That was weird. Maybe a weird API hiccup or something. I also need to install pip3 install PyAVD. Now, Ansible playbook, build fabric. Distlib. So I need to install distlib. All right, so I need to do something about the installation. So I need to put, I got a README here. Actually, I want to be in main. System that has Ansible, Container Lab, and Python greater than 3 or equal to 3.10. I think 3.10. Run the following commands. We want to do Ansible Galaxy or Ansible Galaxy collection install Arista.avd, pip3 install PyAVD, pip3 install distlib. I think that's what it was. PyAVD distlib, yeah. I think that's all you need. Yep, that's all you need. Cool, built the fabric. And then we can see if we can deploy that fabric. Oh, I need to put a SSH key in there. Or just remove the line. So we're going to run SSH keygen. So it's not using RSA anymore. It's using this weird number. Or do I just do this? Let's try that. I have to build the fabric and deploy the fabric. Yep, that worked. Okay. So yeah, do I want to put that in the instructions? Probably. So you shouldn't have seen the private key. That's all right. Just to be safe, I'm just going to do that again. SSH keygen. You can see the public key. This is weird because it's actually a smaller key than the RSA key by a lot. So I do have to build the config again. Oh yeah, I need to get rid of that. And then deploy. Now, if I SSH to leaf 1, it'll drop me right into there. Oh, I need to do, I probably want to do one more thing. Oh, crap, I'm already at main. Let's get revert main. Yeah. So there's one more thing I want to put into this. Yeah, one thing I want to get rid of this and this. And what the heck? Where did all my stuff? Oh, shit. Where did it all go? Yeah, that's what I needed. I need to put something else in here. What I need to put in is US designs. It's a pet peeve of mine when I log into a device and I get thrown into exec mode. I want privilege exec mode. And to do that, there's a couple ways. I need to put it into it's in one of these. I think I did a YouTube, yeah, I did this a while ago. 3 months ago. Oh yeah, this is my thing. I think it's at the bottom of here. Yep, right here. Those lines I want to add here. So this means that I'm going to do authentication locally, and then this will be my, I'll drop into exec mode automatically. So I'm going to build with that. Oh, I need to put my SSH key in there. And build. And then deploy. Now when I go to leaf 1, I dropped into privilege exec mode, which is what I wanted. All right, so that looks good. So So I'm going to get rid of config backup, get rid of documentation, get rid of intended. Oh, it wants me to set my name. Untracked files. All right, sudo. Trying to keep a clean directory here. Sudo container lab destroy. Let's get rid of all this. It's ephemeral anyway. So delete that and delete that. All right, let's see what that looked like. I want it nice and clean. That's the clean one. I think I can just prune those branches. How do I prune how do I get rid of branches? Bridge. Get branch D. Okay. Really need to delete it. Capital D. Okay. That has some interesting implications. Nope, that didn't work. All right, that worked. Oh, no, it didn't work. Oh, I was trying to delete the branch it was in. Oh, no. What the heck? All right, does this have the changes I made? It does. This is the one I want. So working. So we'll just do a pull request. Resolve conflicts. Get merge main. What in the heck? I'm lost in Git. I hate it when this happens. Why did it delete it? Needs merge. You need to resolve your current. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I did not want to do that. All right. Let's go to clean. I think clean has everything in here. It's clean. Look okay. Yeah, clean looks good. Linus Torvalds. I think you made this more complicated than it needed to be. This is like this in technology. A lot of times you think you know something and then you try to do something and then you realize you don't know it as well as you thought you did. All right, so I've got a good I'm going to just delete working. Good. No more branch working. Git push origin working -d. All right, did this delete working here? Create pull request. How do I do merge branch into main? Okay, so switch to main. Get branch, get merge, clean. All right, how about I do this? Get switch clean, get merge quit, get switch clean. Check out clean. Resolve your current index first. Jeez. This is not what I wanted to be doing. Get status. Okay. Yeah, it's got what I want. So I want to merge. I'm in main. Forced update. Okay. So let's see what it looks like now. So main. Oh, this is the wrong. AVD V5 demo. AVD. All right, finally. Jeez. All right. D working. All right, cool. One branch right now. So I just and then so git push origin main. Push dash D. All right, so I removed them from the remote repository, so that's good. So now, cool. All right, jeez. Sorry if you had to watch that. Watch me struggle with Git. I thought I had a handle on it, but went down a weird rabbit hole there. Okay, so now I've got C-Lab topology. All right, I'm going to create a new branch. Clean. And then git push origin clean. And then git switch main. Okay. And I see clean. So this is the what I'm going to go revert back to. And then I'll do git branch working again. Git push origin working. Try this again. All right. So I'm in the working branch. Actually, you know what? I don't want working on there. I just want it locally. Okay. Yeah, we'll do it locally. So now, Ansible playbook. Yeah, we're gonna go into. I want to switch into working. There we go. And the reason why I want to switch into working is that I got to put that SSH key in there. So that's cat. Darn it. And then I can do Ansible playbook build and deploy. Oh, I need to sudo container lab deploy. Takes a minute to deploy here. I'm drinking my gas station coffee. All right. Oh, yeah, I need to do the deploy. And then test. Oh, I need Anta. So pip3 install Anta. We'll put that in the instructions. I think I obliterated the instructions. Yeah, I did. That's all right. The distlib. Yeah, distlib, that's what it was. And then they need to SSH keygen. So it looks like under SSH key. Having the public key, everyone's seeing it's not a problem. It's not reversible. All right, so I'm going to commit this change. And then I'll do pull main. Or git pull. Okay. That's there now. So what does this look like? Installing AVD. Oh, I gotta edit this because I didn't close that. All right, that's that part. All right, so that's fixed. Okay. So test the fabric. Pretty quick. Okay, some interfaces didn't work, NTP didn't work, but that's what we wanted. Ooh, verify neighbors. Oh, pass. NTP is disabled. Yeah, we didn't do any NTP in here. Don't want to do NTP? I don't think so. You might want to use it if you're doing CVP. But do I have an NTP server? Let's see if I'll do it. Let's do AVD. NTP settings. So this documentation is weird. Is the name the IP or host name, or is it? I guess name. All right, we'll do that. So NTP settings. So I'll copy this. I'll put it into group vars. So it's the management one. It's a public NTP server. Pull that ntp.org. That's good enough. Build. Deploy. And then test. Because I don't know if the NTP server will work. So deployed, and let's see if the test worked. So port channel is down. That's for the host. NTP. Expected to synchronize. It says starting. Oh, I don't have a DNS server. Do I do a DNS server? Let's do a DNS server. Name servers. Okay. Management of VRF. Okay, so whatever the management of VRF is, that was the question I had. Build. Deploy. Seems like the CPU utilization's gone a little nuts. Oh yeah, NTP has gone crazy. That's why. Maybe I don't want to do NTP. Well, it can reach an NTP server. So let's see if we're synchronized. But it is pounding the CPU right now. Let's see if the test fabric works. This VM is just churning. So that'll be interesting to see if that resolves itself or not. Maybe NTP is not working well with the containerized environment. It's these little things you run into when you're doing this kind of stuff. Man, look at that. That is just destroying the CPU. All right. I'm going to it's not critical. NTP is not needed. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then I will build it's just the responsiveness. It might be hard to tell on YouTube, but the responsiveness is really down. And then I'll deploy, and that should alleviate the CPU problem. Yeah. Use H-top. I love H-top. There's also glances. Yeah, so I actually made this VM with about 20 gigs of RAM, but it's only using 9 with 9 containers. So it's really RAM efficient. And I give it 6 cores instead of 4, so it's just a little bit beefier. But watch this. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll build the fabric again. So now NTP's back. I'll deploy the fabric, and then I'll run HTOP. Wow. Yeah, that is a thing. I wonder if that's in other versions. So let's do this. Let's play around. I've got a different version of CEOS. I've got 431. Actually, let's get something even older. Because I'm also curious as to how far back This will be about as old as you get. We really wouldn't be playing with anything older than 4.27 at this point. Cloud Builder got unsupported. That's 4.28. Yeah, 36 months life cycle for the software. So 4.27 is about as old as you're going to get these days. So sudo container lab destroy. Docker image load. Import. There we go. This is our really old, well, it's not really old. It's like 3 or 4 years old. Be right back. I'm gonna get some. I'm out of coffee. I'm gonna make some tea. Be right back. So coffee's all done. Switch into tea. All right, so we'll do container lab deploy with this older version. Now, it's, when I deploy it, all the configs are going to be gone. So I just deploy again. It's not a big problem. Not a big deal. Drinking orange tea right now. Well, it's running. I'm going to try different alternatives to HTOP. PPY top. Nope, it's not in there. B top. There we go. That's kind of cool. That makes me feel like I'm on the Matrix. It's taking a while for this to start up. Look at that. That's pretty cool right there. Come on. It's taking a while. I'm going to stop this and then do reconfigure. I'm watching some paint dry. See if there's anything else we need to do in. This will also install glances. That's not in there. Okay. So far, B-Top's my favorite. Oh, you know what? I think it was like a security key. Maybe that's what was screwing it up. It was trying to like authenticate. I thought it was like an index key. We'll see here once this starts up. Maybe it doesn't want to do. No such container. Maybe this version is not bueno. Let's try to find something else. Let's do 4.28. Not useful. So import that image. Watching some paint dry here. All right. Yeah. Container lab deploy. That's a good sign. The CPUs are all spiking. Because the config agent's all running. It's running the post-deployment. It looks like it's making progress now. It didn't like that 427 build, I guess. Burp. All right, I really like this B-Top. So this is B-Top, everyone. This makes me feel like I'm in the future. I think terminal interfaces should come back. think web interfaces was a mistake. Okay, so the CPU's gone down to 0. That probably means it's done. Yep, it's done. So if I go into, yep, so it's a blank config. Not a problem. Make sure we got a good build going, and then deploy. You can see what the deploy does. Yep, it's NTP going just absolutely bonkers still. Let's give it a second to settle down. I'll bring this up on Discord. It's, yeah, I can definitely tell the CPU is being swarmed here. Yeah, look how long it took that to respond. Tail. Show log 10. All right, I guess MTP was a mistake. Ping VRF. Even on older versions of software. Another question I had was, would the older version support this encryption for SSH keys? Because it normally was RSA, but it looks like it does. So that's good. Wonder how far it goes back. But where is NTP? All right, I'm just gonna take it out because that ain't working. Not supposed to need the others either. Yeah, build fabric. Deploy. And test. Oh yeah, should configure the hosts. Maybe we should do a something. Config mode, interface E1 through 4. Channel group 1 mode active. Interface port channel 1. No switch port. IP address 10.1.111. IP route 00.10.1.101. Ping 10.101. Takes a second to arpity-arp. It's up. Show ARP. There we go. Show ARP. That's the address we're supposed to see. I'll go to host 2. Wait for this to arpity-arp. DJ arpy-arp. Arpy McArperson. Yep. So I should be able to ping my other host, and I can. One more thing I think for this, under EVP and services, is the BGP peer. So that's on R1. Let's see what BTOP looks like, by the way. Okay, CPU is down to 3%, which is good. Look at that. That was crazy. So router IP routing, router interface loopback 0 IP address. Router BGP1, neighbor 10. Oh, yeah, interface E1. IP address, no switch port, IP address 10.1.50/31. And then here I'll do 10.1.5. Yeah, so I'm going to do a BGP session between this external router and the fabric so I can ping. So I need WAN. Yeah, in the documentation for EOS designs, you have this WAN setting stuff. You can ignore it. It doesn't do anything anymore. Well, I mean it does, but it's part of the Pathfinder, which is no longer a thing, I think. So what we want is network services. And we want network services via BGP configuration. So all this stuff here. VRFs, BGP pairs. I don't need a peer group. Yeah, I think that's all I need. So under so be parallel with SVIs. So the address would be 10.1.50. We don't need a peer group name because we're not using peer groups. And I think we just need the remote AS. I think that's all we need for BGP. Remote AS is 1. L3 interfaces. I think that's the key. L3 interfaces. Yes. Interface name and node. What is it? It'd be E10. Show LDP neighbor. E12. So listen to list. That's interesting. So there's no name. It's E12. IP addresses. Nodes. It'll be leaf 3. Okay, so then I'll just do a build and deploy. I don't need to test. Deploy. Didn't do anything. Yeah, it didn't actually configure anything. Did it try to do a BGP peer? So let's check leaf 3. Let's see if it tried to do a neighbor in the VRF. No, it didn't. Did I not put it in the right place? Oh, you know what? I think I may have not had it right. Should be under VRFs. No, it should be under. Should be under there. Didn't do anything. I have this in another demo. Maybe look at that. Enabled true. Maybe that's what I needed. where did that go? Oh, okay. Interfaces. Let's try that. All right, that built configs. All right, put the IP address there, and then the BGP peers. There we go. All right. So I should be able to deploy that now. There we go. I can ping router BGP1, router ID 111, neighbor 10151, mode AS 65299, neighbor address family IPv4, neighbor 10151, activate show IP BGP summary. Established. Cool. Then I'll do interface VLAN 1000. No auto state, IP address. And then router BGP1. Address family IP4. And then network 172.16.0.12. So that should announce into this network. Show IP route. Yep, there we are. So this host ping 172.16.0.10. Yeah, all right, cool. So I've got a good all right, I've got a good basic config. So now I need to move into the, I think the only difference here is this. I need to move into clean. Darn it. So I want to go back to the clean. So I'm back on working. switch clean. There we go. Because what I want is I want this in the clean. So we've got all that. Git add AVD group vars UVPN services. Git commit. So I've got that on there, and then I'll do git switch working. Now I'm back to working. All right, that's what I'm getting the hang of this. Because what I don't want to do is when I do a push, I don't want the working stuff like these directories here or the documentation or the config backup. I want everyone to start with a clean build so they can start without the my extraneous stuff there. Check something here. Okay. So now I need a way to do a config of the R1, host 1 and host 2. I would push a config. I've got an Ansible directory here that's separate than AVD. I could have them just type the commands. They're not that complicated. They can just paste them. Oh yeah, I probably actually want to do more than one. Zero, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So then on R1, I face E2. Neighbor 10.1.5.3. Remote AS 65299. There we go. So I should get routes from 2 different places now. I should do maximum paths. So I can get multiple routes, multiple paths. Perfect. Show up your route. I have 2 paths. Multipathing. So I want to copy this, switch to clean, and then paste the new version. Push it, and then get switch working. Not bad. Okay, cool. You know what? I should be consistent in the language I use here. Shit. So this should be Ethernet 12, Ethernet 12. This is the way that I've done it everywhere else in this. It's the same way. I mean, it conveys the same information. It's just two different ways to do it. They're both valid in YAML. Just for consistency. There we go, clean. Aight, so I think that's it. I think we're done there. Oh yeah, I wanted to do something about all right. I'm going to do infra configs. No, do I want to do it here or here? Is inventory in there? Is that all right? Yeah, it's fine. Let's do this. I'll do create one called backup configs.yaml. Infrastructure R1 host 1 host 2 configs. Hosts be R1 host 1 host 2. And then tasks. Name is pull the configs into infra configs. Arista EOS config. So the config module. Backup options. Backup true. Okay. So backup true, backup options, backup directory is infra configs, which means I need to make file name, inventory host name config. Dir path. There we go. So now I got the configs for them. I also want to put in this. So it drops me into there. All right. So run that again. Hmm. What? Weird, it didn't auto update. Okay, I think that's enough streaming for now. Still got some more work to do. And then I will update the repos and work on stuff later. I gotta go for a run in a little bit. See you next